There we go. Hey everybody, how is it going? Welcome. This is the RambleCast, October 30th, 2024, the day before the week before voting. No, actually, it's the day before Thanksgiving. That's what we're here for. Not really. I, what are you dressing as? Oh, wait, what? Hold on. Kirby's saying she can't hear you. That doesn't... Why not? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, what if I redirect the audio to... Jerk. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to try pausing the music and see if it's just a audio driver issue. And maybe it's just sending you to the wrong... Okay, try making a sound.
Hello?
Whoa, okay. So no, that is... Something wrong with meat seems to be the problem. What if I do... Okay, I know that's not going to fix it. Try saying something. Okay, yeah, now I can't hear you either. I didn't think I'd be able to. That can't be true. Wait, what? How could they hear you before? Okay, it was there, right? Okay. Can everyone hear him? I can't. But can can anybody else? Because I'm looking at the OBS interface right now. Legitimately, there is nothing happening on the audio meter. It shows Corbin is dead silent. Watching chat to see if there's a reaction here. Also, this doesn't really work because, again, I can't hear anything. Seeing as no one's reacting or saying anything, I'm assuming that's not the case. Okay, let's pop you back into that one. Okay. I saw you that time. So now you're working, I think.
Kirby said negative.
Okay, I think that's on
delayed.
Delay.
Wait, I heard a sniff.
Yeah.
Was that my sniff? Yeah, we did it.
Okay, that's really weird. So you're working on one of the black hole drivers, but not the other. I don't understand why that would be a thing.
That's cool.
But hey, if it works, it works. I'm not gonna fight it. Not today.
Okay.
And my suspicion, actually, I can almost guarantee I know why this is. I just updated to macOS 15.1, and I did not think to double check and test that all this stuff would work. I tested some of it, but I did not test
or whatever.
This.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Apple. This is now the... okay, the other thing wasn't Apple's fault, but this is now the second thing that has broken since my update.
I feel like there's an in-between here somewhere between the apps breaking with minor OS updates and whatever Microsoft does, where nothing is ever allowed to break for decades, but that's okay. Yes, but anyway, no, I forgot Halloween was happening tomorrow until like 2 hours ago. So I'm working. It's my Halloween, and I guess maybe tomorrow I'll go buy a lot of clearance candy
No, that makes
because
sense.
that's the adult way to do Halloween, I think.
Um, well, I'm gonna do what I think is probably the total adult thing, and sadly, I will be working.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Also that.
yeah, I'll be working really hard on preparing for the movie TV streaming post thing that I post on Fridays. So, you know, at least it's that and not other stuff, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no going out and goofing around for Halloween for me. Um,
Yeah. Well, speaking of scary things, um,
yes.
there's some scary, interesting development stuff happening with Flutter. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Flutter is one of the many application toolkits Google has made. It was originally designed to basically let you make apps for iPhone and Android with the same code base and make them look good and work, which is really difficult. And then they eventually added like desktop support, so you can make one app that just works across everything native. Um, and the problem is that Google hasn't actually invested that much in Flutter recently. I know I used to get um, like a lot of like blog post announcements for Flutter, and I guess I never noticed. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. And according to this blog post, which is written by Matt Carroll, it mentions that Google put a hiring freeze on the Flutter team, and then like also did layoffs. So there's just not a lot of people working on Flutter at this moment. And they mentioned there's how many open issues. Uh, it's a lot. Um, I have to do a control F here.
Um,
Okay, I don't know where the number is, but anyway, there's a lot of like pending issues on the Flutter code base and project that are not um, being addressed. So now there is an effort to fork Flutter. So different team working on it, different team hopefully resolving a lot of the issues. They mentioned also that apparently it's been pretty difficult to get like anything merged into Flutter. Like even if you're like a developer trying to fix something, there's like a really laborious and annoying process of like fixing anything or contributing code, and that's been an issue. So they're going to try to work on that. Um, I have no familiarity with the Flutter dev scene because I've never used it, but I do know this is an issue with also Linux. I've heard a lot of like the Asahi Linux people have complained a lot on Mastodon of all the times they've tried to upstream anything for Linux, and all the Linux maintainers are being not cooperative whatsoever and really annoying. So it doesn't surprise me at all that something like that would happen with other open source projects.
to be fair, the words Linux developers complain a lot is kind of an evergreen statement.
Yeah, yeah, and I know is an issue with a lot of stuff. So yeah, definitely interesting. I definitely think again I haven't used it, so I don't have any huge thoughts here, but I have used the underlying programming language of Flutter, which is Dart. I've used it for my Nexus Tools installer. It's actually really great for that because it lets me make a command line utility for Mac, Windows, and Linux, and it compiles down to I think it's like 2 MB, like a 2 MB CLI app, which is a lot better than if I had written it in Python or Node or something else that isn't like a real compiled language that would be like a massive download because it's downloading an entire runtime. or make the user download the runtime.
Hmm.
So um, I generally like Dart, and it seems like Dart is still getting like a decent amount of attention. Um, but apparently, Flutter has suffered somewhat.
So the thing to kind of remember here is Google created Dart. I don't know exactly how long ago, but I'm going to ballpark. It's got to be getting closer to like 15 years ago. Um,
Yeah,
and
it was a while ago, and it had very different goals.
yeah, the thing is,
Um,
they created it to be the back end or to be the development language for building the web services that they use. And in particular, Dart gives them the ability to do things like it, write something in Dart and have it compile to JavaScript. Write something in Dart that also compiles to their web service code, things like that. So Dart served a very specific purpose, and it was initially kind of like a we made it for in-house purposes, and then we thought it was pretty good, so we're exposing it to the rest of the world. Flutter was created more as like, hi, we're developers in Google. We kind of think this would be neat if we also made a like semi-native, meant to be run on a person's computer language, and or a framework. So they created Flutter as a UI layer, and obviously built on top of Dart, which that's great, but it's got a very different focus, a very different intention behind it. And even as they were building it, I remember things moved very slowly. Like, it was a very high efficiency UI layer, but development on it happened very slowly. They never got like that super high speed, like every month. Oh my god, look at the great huge number of things that we added. It was more like every 6 months you'd hear, "Oh, did you hear they added drop down boxes or something?" Um,
yeah,
so yeah, Flutter has always kind of lived in a different world than Dart, even though they are inextricably connected now. Dart, I think, still has plenty of plenty of motivation within Google to keep it going, to keep developing on it. Flutter was like a side project that kind of blew up bigger than I think it was ever supposed to, but then at the same time, never got the investment.
yeah. Yeah, Dart was weird because when it came out, I don't know if the ability to compile Dart to JavaScript was there initially. I don't remember because I remember the initial goal was that Google was going to put a Dart VM directly in Chrome, and then they wanted other web browsers to do that, and then Dart would just sort of be a thing you could develop for instead of JavaScript.
Right.
But then no one else wanted to put that VM in the browser, so they're like, okay, I guess we're doing compile to JS, and then that eventually became the only way to use it. I'm still
Um.
crackly.
Wow. All these fun problems surfacing again.
Amateur
Um.
hour.
Okay. Give me just a second. I'm going to just rejoin the call. Maybe that'll fix it. Mm, okay. So done that. Now I need to fix the. I think you can be heard. I just need to get it pointing to the correct view.
Okay. Um. So yeah, Dart was kind of weird, but I do mostly like it. Um, I do get the feel that Dart is also weird because I when I'm making a Dart only project like Nexus Tools, there's not a lot of libraries for it, like a lot of support on just the pure Dart part. A lot of it is stuff built for Flutter and has Flutter dependencies. Um, so definitely interesting. Oh, still not fixed.
Okay. I literally can't hear it, so I don't know what I would be able to do to fix this. Um I mean, this could be a driver issue. It could be OBS acting up. It could be something Mac specific. I just don't know.
Do I sound fine on
Yeah,
your meet?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That's the thing.
because
You're
if
coming across fine to me, which it this guarantees that it's something to do with the Mac OS update. Well, I guess not guarantees it, but it basically is certain it's the Mac OS update. But I don't have a good way to diagnose it, and
I
I think
I,
this
I
is an
love I love Diablo's comment. Doesn't sound too bad. I don't feel anything. Oh, buddy. It's like completely unrelated. Corbin sounds okay, and also I'm unfeeling.
yeah, I actually I appreciate that.
That's good.
That is good. Um,
Hang in there, man. Hoopy said, I remember there were some browser text editor that could do Dart years ago in the age of Chrome web apps. Yeah, I think I used that. Though it was like a weird like half IDE. I don't remember what that was called, but I'm pretty sure I used that. Um, and I have a Dart programming book in the other room that does explain using the Dart VM in Chrome, which is fun. But yeah, I've only really ever used Dart for command line stuff because that was what I initially tried writing native software in. Because again, I don't want to learn another language, and Dart was like, we're kind of JS and also a native app, and I was like, sounds great, I'll take it. Um, and then I was gonna use I was looking into using Dart for the image share web app I was rewriting from PHP, but it seems like Dart is not really it doesn't seem like anyone's really using it or supporting it that well for like running a server necessarily, like web server stuff. So I ended up going with Node, which is fine because it's a learning opportunity for Node, I guess.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay, so just for future reference, I'm just gonna make a point of doing full reboots and everything before streams in the future, because I don't
Oh,
know if that'll fix anything, but who knows?
yeah.
Maybe it would help.
Hoopy says it was called the Chrome Dev Editor. Yeah, that I think that's what I remember. Uh, that was another weird era of Google like half trying to make Chrome apps and then giving up and just putting everything in Android apps.
That's when Google learned to give up on things, even when they're working.
Yep. Um. Oh, Polymer. Yeah,
Oh
the Dart book I
yeah,
have also explains Polymer. I should go get it. Sorry, I'm gassy. Um.
it's the booster.
So yeah, Flutter. Yeah, it's the COVID. No, I think it's me downing my second energy drink of the day because it's just that kind of a day.
Yeah, it could be that too.
So that's Flutter. Yes, I'm interested to see where the fork goes, and there have been a lot of cases of this happening, and then the fork just kind of becomes the new centralized project. And they have mentioned that they're gonna try to keep in sync with the main Flutter project, and also allow Flutter to integrate their changes if they want to. So we'll see. Maybe this will be a LibreOffice situation where this the original kind of just slowly weathers away as everyone goes to work on the new thing.
It is interesting that this is almost a branding issue. Obviously, they could just change how their current project is being operated and structured, but instead they're forking it and saying, okay, our first thing, just pretend that didn't happen anymore. Now we're gonna have this new thing that's exactly the first thing, but now we're just doing it in a different office. so to speak. And somehow that, that suddenly makes it, yeah, hey, everyone's welcome to come be a part of this now.
Yep. So see what happens there. So I guess now we're gonna talk about Apple stuff. Yay!
Yeah. And fair warning, if you weren't in the mood for Apple stuff this week, have a nice day. It was nice having you here. Links down below if you'd like to contribute to the channel. Because it's pretty much all we're going to do from here on out.
So yeah, Apple did. Okay, bye. Yeah, so Apple announced a bunch of Mac stuff. They made a big deal about like this being a week of Apple stuff, but they also just confirmed that they have no more announcements and it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So kind of a short week. Apple encouraging the 3-day work week.
I was just going to say, don't you know, Apple really doesn't do Thursdays and Fridays. Like, everyone just goes home. That's not true.
Austin said you're not going to cover YouTube. What did YouTube do? I forgot.
Wait, did YouTube do something? Literally just searching YouTube news. Is it the Joe Rogan thing? Is that what you're referencing?
That's the worst possible question to ever ask. Like, is this the Joe Rogan thing? That never is followed up by a good thing.
Right. I mean, all things considered, there's actually a lot of YouTube related news this week, but it's stuff that we typically wouldn't talk about, like the Mr. Beast scandal. There's the ad revenue blowing away expectations.
Oh yeah, the Russian TV fine. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Oh, I missed that one entirely. I don't even see that in the list.
No, it was it was a bunch of Russian TV stations want their YouTube channels reinstated, and they have officially decreed the fine should be like $100 trillion or something.
2.5 trillion.
You know, but pretty silly.
You know what? I like that. More than the world's total GDP. That is a very Russia move.
Yeah. So, week of Macs, that is actually 3 days. And also the way they did this is weird because they made like fully professional videos for all these announcements. They're on Apple's YouTube channel, and they're formatted exactly like they're they're made just like their live stream, like, and it looks like they were probably made for a live stream, and then Apple just decided at some point to not do it, which, as someone who has spent many a live event frantically writing about what is on the screen, sounds great to me. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. Although I probably wasn't going to anyway.
I honestly think that they were okay. For one, I think they're trying something a little different, like on purpose. They're just experimenting with something that, when the announcement itself doesn't really matter that much, but like, I think they want to make something that's a little more bite-sized and consumable. Plus, obviously, they're taking advantage of the fact that announcements over a series of days keeps them in the news cycle for longer.
Yeah, this is the OnePlus strat. Except with OnePlus, it's we announce one minor thing you don't care about our upcoming phone every day for 3 months. And then Apple is like, we have an entirely different computer every day that is better than most other computers.
Yeah. Apple is doing the okay version of this, as opposed to OnePlus's like cheesy, horrible version.
Yeah, I hated that, and it works so well. That's the annoying part. I hate it. I hate when the annoying marketing works. Anyway,
that being said, Apple still drug out all of their annoying marketing in the videos. Yeah. Every second of those videos was still super hyped. The greatest, best thing you've ever seen. re-announcing stats and specs that actually have been there for years, but they
Yeah.
sound exciting because they're said with an upbeat voice. Yeah.
Diablo says the Mac Mini's impulse by territory. We will get. I have many Mac Mini thoughts.
Oh,
Don't you
good.
worry about that. But first, we got to do the iMac. We're
Yes.
talking about the M4 iMac. So there wasn't. I don't think they ever did an M3 iMac. I think it was just M2.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
The Mac Mini and iMacs were only M2. They skipped the M3, and now they are both jumping to the M4.
Yeah. So new iMac. It's the same design as the last one. It's like really thin screen. A little bit of like a chin bezel at the bottom where all the computer bits are.
Very tiny bezel at the top for the camera,
Yeah,
and notably different colors, or rather,
lots of fun
some new
colors.
colors.
These are the best Mac colors, I think. And Apple is a bunch of cowards because they won't put these colors on the rest of their computers. Where's my Where's my green MacBook Pro, Apple? I'd buy that. I'd buy it.
I don't know that I necessarily want it in that green. I want something a little bit more saturated, but yeah,
Right. I mean, yeah, that purple and the blue is very good too.
Yeah,
Um,
I really dig the purple. I really dig the blue.
yeah,
I
I
think their
don't.
red looks a little off. The orange
Yeah,
and
it's like a
yellow,
red pink.
I'm not into. The yellow, I
Yeah,
can look. Look. I'll say it right now. I could see yellow showing up on like Rosanna Pansino. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I could see it showing up on like her channel, but outside of that, I don't think they're going to sell a ton of the yellows.
yeah, the banana iMac is definitely a statement. That's a conversation piece. So yeah, the new M4 iMac, it basically the main change is just the new chip. Like it's the same design as before, but the new chip is all the usual performance improvements. They say iMac is up to 1.7 times faster for daily productivity and up to 2.1 per, up to 2.1 times faster for demanding workflows like photo editing and gaming compared to the M1 iMac. Apple is doing this thing where they will never compare. I read most of these press releases. They don't like comparing this to the actual previous one.
No.
They did this for the Mac Mini too. If you go look at their website, they are comparing it almost exclusively to the M1 Mini and the Intel one. Um, because the M chips have been pretty iterative, which is fine because they're all great, but it
Yeah.
does make having the larger number hurt. Apple accidentally did capitalism too well and made the M1 too good, so now they have to go back further to make a big performance claims. Um, but yeah, so the M4 it's mostly faster. Um, Base model has 16 gigs of memory. Apple is no longer selling 8 gig max. Um, just today they announced that the MacBook Air, which they didn't update today, the base model is now the 16 gig one. They're not selling the 8 gig one, and it's at the price of the 8 gig. So it's at I think $9.99. So they're officially not selling any more 8 gig max, which is great. I did say before, I've said a couple times that like I think the 8 gig max were fine. Like it's definitely not the same thing as a PC with 8 gigs. It's better. It's not like twice as good. There's not like a magic thing happening there. Um like it was fine, but like obviously more would be good. And it became increasingly ridiculous on like that MacBook Pro. They were selling for like $1,400 or whatever with 8 gigs. Like, no, no, guys,
Yeah.
that's not okay.
Yeah.
So
There
we're
were
we're
certain
finally
computers
past that.
that should really anything with the word pro in it, honestly, like get rid of 8. Um
Yeah. So that's good. I think the base storage is still 256 though, which is a little bit annoying, but
I know that they would never do this because it it's bad for marketing and sort of narrative purposes. But honestly, I feel like the ethically correct thing Apple should have done is officially label 16 gig as the base RAM, but then also offer the ultra budget version, which is the 8 gigs. Um, that way you're sort of presupposing everyone needs 16, but they could get 8 if they are, if you're just buying this computer to be a basic web browser and nothing more or something like that, then
Yeah,
8 made
like
sense.
in a perfect world, I would really like to see Apple make like another like 11-inch MacBook like they used to a couple of years ago. Throw 8 gigs memory in there, make it like $700 or something, like dirt
Yeah.
cheap. That'd be great. They're not going to do that because they want to sell you an iPad
$700
at
dirt
that
cheap.
price. Well, yeah, I mean,
For Apple standards, it kind of
for
is, but
app, yeah, yeah, like that. I'm thinking like roughly M1 MacBook like quality. Um, Obviously, they could go lower if they wanted to, but they won't. But they won't do that either. Anyway, so the M4 it is performance boost. It does have 16 gigs of RAM, and that's unified memory. So that's theoretically all accessible to graphics as well. So pretty good for like video editing, photo editing. If you're running like AI stuff, the AI models can use all of that. Um, so that's all good stuff. Also, M4 Max can do Thunderbolt 4, which is nice. Not, uh, I don't think they're making an iMac with the higher end M4 chips, are they? Because the
I thought they were, aren't they?
let me see. I gotta click the link.
Um,
iMac.
I guess not.
Uh, Pre-order. Yeah, it's all M4. Yeah. Okay. Man, that top end one is M4 is the base M4 with 24 gigs of memory and only 512 gigs storage. They won't even sell with the terabyte. Or I guess maybe you can change that at the checkout. Um, okay, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can bump it up to you can go up to 32 gigs of memory and 2 terabytes. But they will not put anything except a base M4 chip in it. Um,
That's for an iMac. That is a really weird choice.
yeah, it is weird. Um, do 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 do.
Yeah,
Diablo
this they must be
Diablo
planning.
said
Oh, I bet this means that they're gonna finally redo the iMac Pro.
maybe.
I
I mean,
will I'll go on record right now with the bet. I'm well, not a money bet here, but I I have a feeling 2025 they will be announcing an iMac Pro, larger screen. They'll probably go with the 27-inch. It will, and that's the one that's going to come. They'll probably do a 24 and 27-inch iMac Pro. And that's where you'll see the M4 Pro and Max showing up.
yeah, maybe. I don't know because that's also the same group of people that they try to sell the high end Mac Minis and Mac Studios to with the super expensive screen. So
Yeah, but a lot of people do not want to buy their
yeah.
that's display. Plus, a lot of people it's not as sexy to have that particular
Well,
combination.
it's not going to be sexy anyway because they won't make that in the fun colors.
Okay, yeah,
You're gonna have your iMac Pro and it's gonna be black.
but
You're gonna have your Batman computer.
the whole point is no cables. That
Yeah.
not even a cable running from a computer to the monitor. They want it just zero cables except for power. And power I'm
Yeah.
sure they would get rid of if they could.
Diablo said Return of the Trash Bin version. Please no. Um, so yeah, so the new iMac, it has M4, it has Thunderbolt 4, not Thunderbolt 5 because it's only on the M4
Yeah.
Pro and Max. So you don't get that. And yeah, Hoopy did say I don't think any of the M Max have ever had anything but the base chip. Yeah, I believe so. And back when it was Intel, they were using the laptop Intel chips.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
they always did that. Everything did. Well, my reasoning for this comes up because in a moment we're going to be talking about the Mac Minis where they have the Max and Pro chips. So the fact that the Mini can go way higher than the iMac, I kind of don't buy that.
it's a little weird.
I
Um,
honestly don't think Apple's going to stay at that position.
but yeah, so it has Thunderbolt 4, so they can do up to two 6K external screens, and also that's obviously more than enough bandwidth for like all the drives you ever want to hook up, hubs, all that fun stuff. Um, I will say I still don't really like the iMac as a product. I get why it exists, so you can have like a desktop thing that you just go to the store and buy, and that's your complete computer. But I don't know when it was, but at some point Apple dropped the feature where you could switch an iMac to be a dumb screen for another computer,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the if that if they brought that back, I'd be okay with this because I that's always the issue with these all-in-ones is like the screen is probably going to be useful for longer than the computer inside it. It's the same thing as smart TVs,
Yeah.
but at least smart TVs all have external inputs. This does not, so I would really like it if Apple brought that back. Um, but yeah.
You know, I could be misremembering, but I think didn't they kill that with the last Intel iMac?
Yeah, it might have been something they never brought to
Yeah,
the M ones.
I could easily see a scenario where that's something that they just haven't re-implemented yet and it's coming someday. I really don't know for sure on that, but I feel
Oh,
like that was just the last Intel Mac had it and this doesn't.
welcome, Carson. Happy to see you.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes,
Hoopy
welcome,
says,
welcome.
I think it's entirely because they know the Corbin types want the Mac Mini and the Corbin's mom's types want the iMac. Yeah. Yeah. The iMac is definitely for like the people who go to the store and want a Mac for their desk. Like, that is.
Yeah. And I think back to a buddy of mine who he had an old iMac sitting in his place. He clearly liked that. He just liked the build, he liked the design. He didn't care at all what operating system it ran. All he was using it for was a web browser. He didn't care really to even use it for very much. All he cared about was it was a pretty looking computer. Um and for him, 100% that's what the iMac was supposed to be. Um, and I also know him well enough to know he wouldn't have gone out and bought the ridiculously expensive XDR display. Um, he wouldn't have wanted to get like, he wouldn't have wanted to own a trash can. He wouldn't have wanted to own any of the like towers or anything like that. Even the Mac Studio would probably not fit him. I could see him maybe working a Mac Mini, but the idea of attaching any of the previous Mac Minis, well, things are changing a little bit now, but the idea of attaching any of the previous Mac Minis to an XDR, that's just stupid. Like the it wouldn't have made any sense. Um, and of course, I'm describing this back in the Intel days, so I'm kind of blending time periods. But yeah, I don't think Apple wants people grabbing the XDR to plug in a Mac Mini. Um, so I feel like the iMac has still got its place. It just
Um,
it just
yeah,
needs to be
it's
tidied up
the
with the logics.
the iMac feels like maybe the computer most in Apple's lineup that is like person who wants a computer that maybe doesn't already have one. Boom,
Yeah.
iMac. And then the Mac Mini is the computer for, oh, you already have a PC at home? Great, just plug in this box. to everything you were already using, and boom, you have a Mac now.
Diablo, what you're picturing, it's real. There
Yeah,
are
that does.
genuinely
Yeah,
people who have carried iMacs into a Starbucks. I know Austin is kind of joking about it, but it's a joke about a thing that actually happens. There are 100% people who do this. They are some weird people, but yeah, it is a weird flex that they do.
um, but yeah. So the no external screen is like my big like. I don't know about the IMAX guys, but besides that, I mean, they seem fine. It's got like a little bit of a better webcam now. Um, and of course, with Thunderbolt, you can plug in more screens, you can plug in displays, um, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, new iMacs, and they start at $1,300, which seems fine
For the
to me.
quality of the display, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
actually
again, like
is.
I would personally not feel great about buying it just because of the screen thing, but that's not an issue for everyone. So
Yeah. Um
the screen thing, and also if you ever want to resell your Mac, that is a lot easier with the tiny box Mac Mini than it is like, oh, how can I ship you my giant screen?
yeah.
That's the one where you like you take it to Best Buy and you take like their low ball trading because you just don't want to deal with it.
um yeah, I mean it's not an unreasonable thing. I see value to an iMac, especially if you're the type of uh let's just say hypothetically maybe it's a company that really wants to um have that nice clean aesthetic, especially on like a front desk, and they want something that they can just buy a single device, carry it in, quickly set it up, maybe rearrange offices quickly. They don't have to have multiple pieces that they tear apart and put back together and stuff like that. I can see why an iMac is certainly appealing in that business setting. I can see why people might like it in the home because again, you don't have cables, so you can have that nice super clean aesthetic. I get all the motivations behind the iMac. Would I buy one? Probably not, because you know I I'm okay with the idea of having separate things. And in fact, I very much want to have separate things because I do tend to hold on to electronics and keep them in service maybe longer than I should. Um, so yeah,
Austin said people don't throw away Apple boxes. Yeah, but like if you're reselling your iMac, you have to pay to ship the bigger thing.
yeah,
Versus when whenever I get a new computer and I'm going to sell this Mac Mini that's down here, uh, that's going in a little tiny box. That's a little guy. Um,
so
so
really quick, just to call it out. Um, and we're gonna kind of come back to this subject maybe. Well, we don't need to, but so you don't see it in the lower end iMac, but um, one of the options that they have, I just have to call this out. One of the options that they have on the upper end iMacs, nano texture glass.
mhm.
This has been both hyped and hated. It is popular because, hey, basically no reflections. It looks kind of magical and neat and everything. Never, ever let a finger touch that glass. Never. Also, never let dust land on that glass. Never let anything ever contact that glass. Do not let moisture near it because that nanotexture glass famously grabs hold of everything. It is awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is with Apple and making screens that are like impossible to clean. But like I even have this issue on my M1 Air, which is like not this at all. It's like, okay, if I don't use like one specific kind of like microfiber cloth, I'm just like smearing fingerprint all
Yeah.
over my screen. I don't know why. Nothing else like the iPhones aren't really like this. my every phone I've ever had, my tempered glass screen protector, they don't do that. I don't know.
Yeah. And Carson's saying the colors look muted in the store. There's a decent chance that what you're seeing in the, well, okay, I haven't gone in to look at these myself, so I don't know. Maybe they are muted. And that, by the way, is the reason why I've always hated matte screens. Like matte computer screens to me look terrible because colors are always like half saturated. It looks washed out. But the nanotexture, yeah, I could see it certainly doing the same thing because you're literally breaking up the optical transparency. Um, and again, yay, no reflections and stuff like that. That's kind of nice, but I would not want to give up all the saturation and color that you get from a real screen. By the way, for anyone who does like color work or photography work, anything like that, you will never buy those things. Like not even for a second. They're horrible. So
Raul also brought up if you don't get the nano texture, you also get a free mirror, which is true. That would be a pretty big mirror on the IMAX.
yes, there's a lot of value to that.
Mm.
Also, I'm going to call out one other very minor thing. I think this is maybe chip related because it's an M4 and not one of the Pros or Maxes. But the iMac none of the versions of the iMac support anything over gigabit Ethernet. Now, obviously, you could plug in adapters to USB, but yeah, you're trapped at 1 gigabit. And I know that's pretty much standard for everybody, but um, uh, again, the Mac Minis you can upgrade to 10 gigabit. So, oof.
Yeah, and it is a little bit weird when like on some of the ports, Apple is like, this is the fastest connection in a consumer product, and then they're like, some gigabit, some Ethernet, I don't
Yeah.
know. Does it have? Looking at this picture, I only see the Thunderbolt ports. Where is the Ethernet?
Um,
It's on the other side.
it's got to be on the back.
I only see the Thunderbolt ports on the back.
Oh, they put in only the pictures of. That's interesting. So the pictures of the device. Oh, I bet it might be under the foot, like hidden behind the foot.
Oh,
Uh,
maybe on the power brick or something like a Chromecast.
I don't think so. I'm thinking
Look at
it's.
I'll look at the specs.
Isn't there supposed to be a 3D view of some of this stuff? Um, let's see. Can I?
They say configurable with gigabit Ethernet, so it's not on all the models.
It is on the highest end.
Yeah, so they wouldn't like
As in
cut a
guaranteed
hole in
it's on
the
the highest. So
that they wouldn't cut a hole in it for like just one variant, right? So it's got to be like on the power cable or something. Yeah, where is it?
I'm thinking
Where's
it
the
might just
missing
not be in
port?
the pictures that they're using, but that's kind of a weird
That's
choice all the
weird.
same. Yeah, that is a really good question. Where did they hide it? Because the screen is too thin, I think,
Yeah,
to have the port go all the way in.
maybe they. What happens if I go to pre-order? Is it going to say like included?
It does, yeah.
To, okay, hold on.
Yeah, it's 100% in the specs I was just on it a second ago.
Yeah,
See, I thought it was going to be somewhere in the foot, but I don't see it there either. I swear there was a 3D view that you could look at this stuff, but I don't.
yeah. I mean, I see in the customized it says gigabit Ethernet,
Yeah,
but
it's
Where
definitely
is it?
there.
Where is it, Apple? Where'd you hide? Is it on the other? They show one side of the iMac that has the headphone jack.
Yeah.
Does the other side have it?
No, it's too thin for the port.
Where is
Ethernet
the
ports are
port?
huge.
Yeah. it's gotta be like they throw an adapter in the box or something. Did anyone
No,
look at the
it
bottom?
can't be because
It can't be in the bottom.
they
The
would list
bottom's
it.
too thin. I know The Verge posted pictures of the new Macs. Are they in there?
Oh,
Let's
that, yeah,
see.
that's a good point. They should have it.
Uh,
Though I suppose maybe they just didn't have the high end model out.
yeah, I'm looking. I'll put this in the YouTube chat. They have pictures, but I don't see them there either. They're also very JPEG compressed. Oh, I gotta zoom in. Yeah, where's the port, Apple?
What is? I,
Okay, so
hmm.
um, okay, yeah, it's on the power adapter. So I just found
Oh,
this
okay.
support article. They say gigabit Ethernet. The 24. This is written for the last one, but I'm assuming this is how it still works because the design is the same. They say the 24-inch iMac with 4 ports includes a power adapter with built-in Ethernet
That makes,
to use the Ethernet connector router modem to
yeah,
port on
and
power
that
adapter.
makes total sense because they only want one cable running down.
Yeah, and like it, I think pretty much everyone who would use it, like whatever you're connecting to, is going to be near the power outlet probably, or like below the desk somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It would, if it's not, it would be like you have a NAS or something, but you can run the cable, wherever, or just use a different adapter. You can do that. Okay, we solved the mystery. Uh, moving on to Mac Mini. Yay!
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 It's
Okay,
small.
yeah. So I again, Apple would never do this, but I would have preferred if they kept the Mac Mini roughly the same size, but they used all that internal space that they have not been using since the Intel switch for other things. Throw an NVMe slot in there, throw a drive bay in there. I know they would never do that. I'm well aware, but
Madness.
I would have liked them to do that. Um, a lot of expansion options in there because like the Mac Mini, like it's fine. It was fine how it was, but they didn't do that. So um, they made a new Mini. This is the first Mac Mini redesign in 15 years. I checked because I just wrote an article that was talking about this. The last time they redesigned the Mini was in 2014. No, I said 15, so that was 2010 or 2009, whatever. Um, and that was this. So, and before that, and that was the only redesign. So there was the original Mini, and then that redesign 15 years ago. Now we have this. So this is the thing that Apple doesn't do very often. So it's redesigned now, and it's basically a mini me of the Mac Studio. It is a very similar shape. It's raised a little bit with fans on the bottom. So now there used to be one fan vent on the bottom and one on the back. I don't know which one was intake and outtake, but now they're both intake and outtake on the bottom. It's a smaller box, not quite Apple TV sized, so they could do a Mac Nano if they wanted to. But it is pretty small, um, and it has the new M4 chip. So same benefits as on the iMac. It's a little bit faster. Base 16 gigs of RAM. Uh, Metric said they finally put fans in the Mac, about time. No, the Mac Mini has always had fans. Like the M1. The thing is, like, ever since they switched to the M1 chips, they're barely ever on. Like it just uses so little power. Like again, I have my Mac Mini. The computer I'm using now is the M1 Mini, and it's below my desk. So granted, I wouldn't hear the fans necessarily if they came on because it's below my desk, but they barely ever run. Like this is just a extremely power efficient computer. Because like the current MacBook Airs that use the same base chip don't have a fan at all because it can just be passively cooled. Um, so yeah, so M4 chips, and you can spec them up to M4 Pros or M4 Max. No, and not M4 Max. I'm sorry, I think I lied. Is it
No, the
just
Max is there.
okay?
It's just not
M4
the
Pro.
Ultra that's there.
Okay, yeah. So is it? Hold on. My brain isn't working today, guys. I'm sorry. I've had a lot has happened this week. I'm a
Okay,
little flustered.
I'm checking it
M4.
too.
No, it's only M4 and M4 Pro on
Oh,
Apple's
okay.
website. Okay. So M4, M4 Pro. So obviously, if you get the M4 Pro, it's faster. I think it has more cores. Um, yeah. So the M4 chip is 4 performance cores, 6 efficiency cores. The Pro is 8 performance cores, so double, and 4 efficiency cores, so 2 fewer efficiency. And it goes from a 10 core GPU to a 16 core GPU, and you get more memory bandwidth that way. And the Pro supports Thunderbolt 5, uh, which is that's some pretty good future proofing because basically nothing has that right now. Um, so that's potentially crazy. You can get some like crazy hub setups going with a lot of high resolution monitors or really fast storage. You can't use it for an eGPU though. Apple still doesn't let you do that. So the GPU you get in the computer, that's the one you stick with. Um, yeah, Austin said, and play Cyberpunk. Yeah, Apple or not Apple announced Cyberpunk coming to Mac in 2025. So that's the one game, or that's the second game for Mac for next year because
Yes.
Assassin's Creed got delayed. So Mac has 2 games. Usually it's just one game a year, but
Though
next year we get 2.
Cyberpunk 2077 was already actually playable on there with crossover or
Yeah,
the game porting
yeah,
toolkit. So yeah, not exactly the biggest revelation, but hey, that's something.
and also it's gonna at that point be a 5-year-old game.
Yeah.
So not still looking pretty dim in Mac gaming land.
Though all
Um,
things considered, it is still one of the best. If you are using ray tracing, it is one of the best looking games out there still.
yeah,
So
it's yeah
you
good.
know,
It's a good game. I'd actually play that. I would not play Assassin's Creed. Um,
I mean, the Assassin's Creed
so
does look pretty good though.
yeah,
Visually, it looks good. I mean, the game, whatever, but
yeah, I'd rather play Cyberpunk. So great chips, good performance. The port situation has changed because it's smaller now. So there are now 3 Thunderbolt ports. That's either Thunderbolt 4 on the base model or 5 Thunderbolt 5 on the Pro chip. And then they kept the HDMI ports. That's good. They kept the Ethernet port, which I think is gigabit. I assume you can still spec that up.
it is gigabit, but you can configure it as 10 gigabit.
Okay, yeah, and that is on the computer. That's not on the adapter. Cause yeah, and then there's the power port on the back, and then the front. They finally mastered the technology to put ports on the front of the Mac Mini. This is a great day for all mankind. Um, the ports on the front are just USB-C, I believe.
Yeah, they're
They're not
USB-C
Thunderbolt. Yeah,
3.2. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Um,
So that's that's fine. That's better than nothing.
oh yeah,
Um,
that's really good.
yeah, that's fine for yeah. A lot of the pictures that you can plug in like accessories, like basically everything is that's in a bandwidth. And then there's also a headphone jack on the front, which Apple mentioned is can power like high power headphones. So you can potentially plug in like studio monitors in there and not need a separate DAC. So that's cool. Although that is the only headphone jack on this computer. So if you have like desktop speakers and you don't want the cable like going around the front, you would need a hub or a dongle or something and use one of the Thunderbolt ports, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. Um, so that's the
Ooh.
port situation. There's no Type A ports, which
Yeah, the old Mini
I
did have those.
no, I don't, did it?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Okay, I
I
can't
don't
look
know
because
if
mine's plugged
technically
in.
the M1 Minis did, or M2s.
Let me check.
Um, but they certainly used to have them pretty recently.
Here we go. Here's the press release for the M2 minis. Do they have pictures of the back in this press release, or do I have to go to a different website? Okay, yeah, they did. So the last one had two Thunderbolt, HDMI, two USB-A, and gigabit Ethernet and headphone jack. So yeah, so a little bit annoying because like the for whatever reason the whole like PC accessory ecosystem has still not really adapted to Type C at all. Like basically every keyboard and mouse, if it's not Bluetooth, is still Type A, or in the case of like my Logitech stuff, it's wireless, but the dongle is still A. So that is a little bit annoying because if you buy like any keyboard or mouse or webcam or mic or anything for your mini, it's probably still Type A, so you will probably need a hub or adapter or dongle or something.
Yep,
Um,
adapters are still life. That or
yeah,
buy a cable. Just
yeah,
buy a cable that has the correct ends.
yeah. So a little bit annoying, but like more Thunderbolt is still pretty sweet. Like you, that's enough bandwidth for like 50 USB-A ports if you
Yeah.
want it.
So, I mean, all things considered, yes, more bandwidth is nice, but fewer ports. Well, okay, that's debatable. I mean,
It is
technically, there are fewer ports on the rear because it went from
right.
4 down to 3, and that's just the USB-C ports. They got rid of the USB-A ports entirely, so they cut the number of data specific ports in half, all combined. But they did add 2 ports on the front, so that that is more
Yeah.
useful. um Notably, I did notice on the specs a bit of a correction to something I said. um According to Apple's tech specs, the 2 USB-C ports on the front are quote unquote USB 3. They do not say
Okay.
USB 3.2. It's possible that they're just doing that thing Apple occasionally does, where they sort of just fudge away the other numbers and make stuff look pretty.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that this is one of those cases where it might actually be USB 3, not 3.2, and that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty big loss. 3.2 is definitely where you want to be on that.
Yeah. So the front ports are just like you're plugging in SD card reader, you're plugging in a keyboard and mouse or something. Like if you need fast performance, you gotta use one of the other ones.
I mean, if you're talking about like almost any external hard drive or something, 3 is still more than enough. The
Yeah.
like hard certainly like spinning disk hard drives, 3 will blow away all of them. 100%. They cannot come anywhere near USB 3 speeds. If you're talking about a really good high end like NVMe drive, okay,
Yeah, that's gonna saturate it.
yeah, but even then it's close.
And also, if you have that, you probably know.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta plug this one in the back, so it's fine.
Um,
Um,
but that
but
being said, like it's still pretty good. Um, and for what it's worth, again, I checked the low end and high end. You can configure the Ethernet port either as 1 gigabit or 10 gigabit. Um, and I mean, just go 10 for your own sake. Go 10.
I don't think I went 10 when I got my M1.
It costs
Um,
$100. It
yeah,
and okay, I
if
know not a lot of people are not going to upgrade their network equipment to support anything over one. And a lot of people aren't going to have any sort of hardware on their home network that will use over one. And realistically, most people do not have internet connections that are going to use or that are going to be over 1 gigabit. Or, yeah. So, do you need to? Probably not. But at the same time, man, if you ever find yourself going like, oh, I'm going to put a NAS in my house for whatever reason, or hey, I just got faster internet, you'll be so much happier if you have that.
Or if you get the Mac Mini as a server, because
Mm-hmm.
they're very good at that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. A lot of Mac Minis, once you're kind of done using them as your home computer, they become great servers.
that was what one of my minis did for years.
And that was an Intel
I
Mini,
yeah,
the
yeah,
useless kind.
I wiped Mac OS. I did a full boot camp Windows 10 partition, running a ton of stuff on there. I had it like I'm like my I for its main thing was a Plex server. So I had Windows 10 on there, and I had Windows 10 because could run. I had my it was like plugged into external drives and had the Blu-ray drive hooked up to it. So when I wanted to put a movie on my Plex, I'd put it in, I'd put the movie in the Blu-ray drive on that computer, remote in, do MK, make MKV, rip it, then move it to Plex, all remotely and stuff. So that worked great for a while. It was a good server. Um, but yeah, so smaller design. Also, weirdly, the power button is now on the bottom.
Yes.
This has already been a point of discussion. I think it's kind of dumb. I've seen some takes that like it's like weird like 4D chess of like making it more annoying to use your computer. Or like Apple sort of discouraging you from using the power button. I think it's literally, I mean, they just very clearly ran out of room on the back, and they had to stick it somewhere. They could have put it like up in like the center of that back if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Apple has this weird thing where like they want all the ports to be aligned always. I don't know. Like it's kind of dumb. But really the only times I ever use the power button on my Mac Mini is when I'm turning it on from it's completely powered off, like if my power goes out, or like a couple times where it like hard locks, because yeah. So I don't really use.
So I have a bit of a theory on this, a bit of a, I don't know, I guess a hunch. Part of it is I look at the back of the Mac Mini, and I certainly see space where you could put a button, no questions asked. And we know from the graphics of how the Mac Mini is layered, we know for sure, without question, they have a board higher up where they could have mounted a button. So plain and simple, they could have done it. It wouldn't have been hard. Um, my hunch is I think they just didn't want to screw with the aesthetics of the back. It's not like the back is pretty, it's a bunch of ports, but I think they didn't want to have a button there that would have been on a different level that makes it look like it's not just one single row of ports. Honestly, I really think that's just all this was. And so they decided, screw it, we'll just put it on the bottom. That makes it look all nice and pretty and blah, blah, blah. Um,
Yeah, or I mean, it could have gone on the front too. Like
oh,
that's
are you
actually more
kidding?
accessible. I know they won't do that, but again, this is the thing with the Mac Mini where I'm like, there's so much they could do, but because they're like Apple and they always do things in a very specific way, like it's not going to happen. Um,
Actually, the really cute thing that they should have done is make it not a button. Make it just a capacitive spot.
yeah.
It's dumb. You shouldn't do that, but they could have. Honestly, they could have just put it on the
Also,
top.
well, I was thinking on the top. I know I brought this up before, but they could make the top of the Mac Mini a MagSafe charging dock.
Yeah.
Like you're at your desk, slap the iPhone on top. Boom, your iPhone's charging, and then I don't know. They could even do like some fun automation thing where like when you do that, it connects to the iPhone mirroring thing for you or something. I don't know. Um, but
So
yeah,
the other, you mentioned the 4D chess, like trying to change the way people are using the button. Um, also saw the theory kicked around that it might be because um, people are building like server racks or kind of like server rooms with Mac Minis. And a lot of those, because every once in a while, for whatever reason, you might need to hard reboot the server. They had mechanical like uh mechanical triggers that could actually physically press down the button for whatever period of time, and then they would release. Now that's a harder thing to do, presumably, because previously those sorts of triggers could be fairly large. Now you would have to make it relatively small to fit in between a bunch of Mac Minis. So I don't know that I buy that logic. It seems like maybe a little bit of a desperate argument, but I don't know. Maybe. We don't know with
yeah.
Apple.
I talked about this in my 15 years Mac Mini design article that like I don't think Apple really ever like thinks about server usage. But like with the old Mini, it kind of worked out perfectly where they didn't redesign it for 15 years because server farms could keep using the same enclosures and like rack mounts and stuff for forever. And now they can't do that anymore because it's a new design. So now is the time for Apple to bring back Xserve. Clearly,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's the future.
unironically they should, but they won't. Yeah, new minis and 16 gigs base RAM, and the starting price is the same. It still starts at 590, yeah, 599 or 499 if you have the education discount that I've heard is very easy to lie about. So this is an
You've heard, huh?
insane. I've heard. I've not. No, I haven't used it. I haven't used it. I had this discount. I had the same discount as the education through How to Geek when I started, and that is how I bought this current mini. I bought it from the Apple Store with that discount, but we don't get that anymore. So, um, yeah. So starting price 599 is crazy. Like I know everyone likes to do the meme of like Apple shit is too expensive, and yeah, like when you spec up some of the configs, it is insane. Like I know adding a terabyte of storage does not cost Apple $400, that kind of stuff. But like this base model, and definitely some of the like spec'd up versions are a crazy deal. If you need a desktop computer and you can deal with Mac OS, this is so much better than basically every alternative. Like I'm not saying that from like I heart Apple, perspective, but like objectively there is nothing that comes close here. You're looking at like workstation PCs that are using like mid-range Core i5s, and they're like 5 times bigger, and they're loud and they're not good. And you still have to do and you have to deal with Windows. Or like gaming PCs, like with like dedicated GPUs, they're going to be bigger and louder and use more power. Yeah, obviously, for not this is an equation for everyone. Like if you need Windows only software, or again, if you want to play games, like a Mac Mini is just a non-starter. But like if you can deal with Mac OS, this is a crazy, crazy deal. Austin said, "Why won't you release your tax records, Corbin?" Because I don't know how to do that. TurboTax, put them somewhere. Um, but like this is by far the best like value thing Apple sells, for sure. Um, like there's not a PC equivalent to this.
Um, I mean, the best value thing Apple sells, sir. I mean, I don't know that I can agree with that. You do know that they sell a $19 polishing cloth.
That's true. That is a bargain.
You do
And
realize it never gets it, like all this other stuff in 5-10 years you're going to be going, oh my god, it's kind of slow, it doesn't work anymore, there's so much better stuff. That polishing cloth, in 10 years it will still polish.
the polishing cloth is forever. That's something you hand down to your grandkids for sure.
Yes.
Just like your prized watch. Yeah,
Your
really good
prize gold Apple
computer.
Watch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I will say it is a very good value. Personally, I still have no reason to upgrade. My desktop computer is an M1 Mini that I spec'd up to 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. And I have an external drive if I need more room. And my laptop is an M1 Air with 8 gigs of RAM and also 512 gig storage. So I have zero reason to upgrade either of those right now because they both do everything I want. Like the Air definitely like suffers a little bit because it has half the RAM, but the Mini is great. Like just yesterday, I was doing stuff in a Windows Parallels VM while also doing web dev in VS Code with like all the browser tabs that comes along with like doing dev. Uh, and all that was running a Docker container that my app was in while I was testing. It's like and like none of that was pushing it. Like I don't do anything that pushes this computer. I don't do like 4K video editing. When I do like Logic Pro, it's not with like a lot of filters or anything, so it handles that fine. Apple did capitalism too good once. They they made the M1 so good. I still have no reason to get another computer. I'm thinking maybe if my workload significantly changes and like I need more power, then yeah, I'll upgrade. But like I don't see that happening anytime soon unless there's like a weird surprise. And the other reason would be games, but as previously established, Mac doesn't have games, so that's not an upgrade motivator for me either. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe eventually maybe I'll upgrade the laptop and keep my M1 Mini, or I thought like maybe if the battery replacements aren't too annoying, I could just sell both of those and get like a MacBook Pro and just have like a dock on my desk when I want to be at my desk. Maybe that's the move. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of disagree with um the the commentary about Apple did capitalism too well or wrong or whatever. Here's the thing, the M1s, the original M1s, came out at the end of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
End of 2020. We're now at the end of 2024. So it's been 4
Yeah,
years.
it was like October,
Yeah.
November somewhere.
Um and I would argue that the original M1s were a little bit of a throwaway variant. Certainly I would have told most people to go for a higher end model, but whatever. It's been 4 years. Even back in the Intel days, not everyone, but a lot of people would generally agree if you got a Mac, you'd get 5 years out of that before you'd feel like you should upgrade.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, Intel already hit Moore's law like while Apple was using them. So like,
Sure.
yeah, you need to go a couple years to get a noticeable performance boost.
Well, no, I mean, you'd get noticeable performance boosts out of, even like a 3-year gap. Um, I don't think but that's kind of my point though, is I think we still have at least another year before we really can point to this and say, okay, do you as a person feel like your M1 is not meeting needs and expectations? At that point, okay, then Apple may have outshot. And honestly, I think we are going to hit that point. I think the M1s are going to have a good, like, probably 6-year spread where people are just like, you know what? No, I'm happy with this up to about 6 years. At that point, things might change. And obviously, there are people out there who were like, we know one of them, who was like, oh no, I need the M2. Oh no, I don't think he went to an M3, but oh no, I need an M4. We know that person. He proudly announced his purchase of an M4 in the Discord. So yeah, these exist, but the vast majority of people, yes, Zach. But I think the vast majority of people who have an M1 are probably sitting there going, yeah, no, this is good. I'm happy with it. And there are people who got M2s, and there are people who got M3s, and the few models that got M3s. I don't think any of them are looking at this unless they're part of the AI bandwagon, which I would argue we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen Apple actually presenting a good argument for why you need to go deep on the AI side of things yet. So maybe that'll get proven later, but for right now.
Yeah. Well, obviously they now have their own Apple Intelligence Suite, but that is rolled out to M1 Max.
Yeah.
So there's that. I do know that, like, among the weird, like, super AI fans, Apple computers are a good option because they can use all of that memory for AI versus on a PC where you would only be using, like, I guess the graphics.
Yeah, you're either using your VRAM or you could use your system RAM, and for performance reasons, you want the VRAM anyway. Just because it's going to be closer to the GPU, which is doing most of that processing. But
and I can tell that when I have tried to run local AI models in LM Studio on my Air and on my Mac Mini, where there is a significant difference because it has double the RAM.
Yeah.
And also, when I tried loading too big of one on my Air, it literally froze the computer. It hard locked. Because it was totally going into, like, the display buffer memory.
Nice.
It was like, please, what are you doing? Stop.
No, you're hurting me. You're hurting me.
It was very funny.
Yeah. So, all things considered, I think I don't think we can call out Apple too much for doing too well on the M1 yet. That'll come in a year or two. Even so, it's not like Apple's having trouble selling these. So I think they'll be. I think the $3 trillion company will be fine.
Yeah, they've got they're still got a lot of PC converts open. If they. It would help also if Max had games. I'm gonna keep going back.
Yes.
To that. Like I'm probably I saw Planet Coaster 2, and that's one of those games that, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get like hundreds of hours out of that when it comes out. But they did not announce a Mac port, even though the other games are on Mac. So I'm gonna play that on my PC and hope it's good enough.
That being said, look, for just a moment, I'm actually going to throw the let's protect competition in the market argument. Can you imagine if Apple, if every studio suddenly started making games for Apple or for Macs, and you're sitting there going, okay, you could buy an M1 Mac Mini for $700. And it maybe it can't play everything. Maybe it can't play everything at the highest graphic settings or whatever. But for $700, you could get a computer that could play a whole lot of what's coming out. Tell me that does not quickly demolish a lot of the competition.
It wouldn't, because the Mac Mini doesn't have RGB. So all the gamers would keep buying PCs, so they're safe.
I
See, that's what Apple could have put on the new Mini. It needs the MagSafe charging dock on top, and it needs shiny lights.
okay,
Make it happen.
you do realize that the Mini is small enough that you could just put it inside of a case with tons of RGB.
No.
That's the accessory market. That's the one that
It,
comes out.
yeah, that's what yeah, that's what like Satechi needs to make instead of their new like they have a Mac Mini dock. Need to make a new one that's just lights.
It'd
Um,
be the RGB skin.
yeah.
D brand can get in on this. Just put a bunch of RGB lights in their skins.
Yeah, it's exactly like those smart light strips, the like Casa sells where it like sticks and you just wrap it around like a Christmas tree.
Oh no. Um
Yeah. Again,
okay,
I should be doing this. This is my calling.
yes. Okay, so I'm going to issue a challenge question whatever to you. They made the Mac Mini smaller. Your argument is they should have done more space with the room that they had. I'm going to put a different argument to you. Did they make the right choice at all making it smaller?
Um, I mean, I get the logic a little bit. I don't think it was entirely like what Apple has done historically a lot, where they just like make it thinner and smaller, like, and all the consequences be damned. And that's how we get the iPhone that bends in your pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and the like Core M crappy 12-inch MacBook that everyone hated with the one USB port. Um, I get the logic here because they're very clearly intending this to be something that is on your desk, and it doesn't take up as much room now on the desk. So I get it. I think I'm just kind of neutral about it. Like it's fine. I get why they did it. They didn't make the computer really worse by doing this.
We assume, and
Versus
I tend to assume that's true.
yeah, you know, we could, and theoretically, the reviewers could get this and be like, "Oh, this thermal throttles immediately because they messed up the fans or something."
It's
But
unlikely, but
that's
yeah, it
yeah,
absolutely could happen.
yeah. So
Okay, I'm gonna go hot take here. I think they effed up. I do.
okay.
I think they effed up. Here's why. Why'd they make it smaller? To get desk space back? Really? They took what, an inch off of both dimensions? Okay. Show me the person who cares. Honestly, nobody does. It's not so small that you're getting back appreciable amounts of desk space.
All right.
Uh and typically when you talk about making something smaller, um who does or what are the purposes for this? And 9 times out of 10 when you're talking about making something smaller, it's either for portability or for flexibility. And I'll come back to that one in a second. But portability. Um, First off, I don't think I'm sure there are some people out there who absolutely are going to take their Mac Mini, stick it into a pocket, and carry it somewhere. But this isn't really
I have
pocket
done that.
sized. Yeah, exactly. There are people who will throw this into a pair of cargo pants
Yeah.
and go. But
Well, not in my pants. I don't think I have cargo pockets quite that big, but I did like put my Mac Mini in a little man purse and take it to like friends' houses back when, you know, I had like my first one.
yeah, Diablo, that's actually where I'm going with this. Um, so the thing is, they made it smaller, but they didn't make it so small that it suddenly becomes the thing that you could throw in a jacket pocket or your pants or whatever.
Sure.
It's small enough that I mean, the old Mac Mini was small enough that you could throw it into, let's say, your luggage and carry it through an airport. Uh, so they gave you back a little bit of space there, I guess. You know, now you could fit like an extra pair of jeans in your bag or something, maybe a couple extra shirts instead. I don't know. They gave you back a little bit of space, not a lot. This kind of matters more, I guess, if maybe you're going in with like a messenger bag or your backpack, then this is saving you some more appreciable space. But even then, it's not a lot. And okay, then I said, what about flexibility? what can you do with this now? The number one thing that I've said for ages that I think would be a really neat solution for a Mac Mini or something to it, something like it, is instead of putting it on your desk, be able to mount it onto the back of a screen. Completely eliminate the footprint by putting it
Yeah,
on the back of a monitor.
I was about to say the fact that it's thicker now
Yeah.
makes it a little bit more annoying for like a VESA mount or something.
Yeah, it would
And
not fit right.
that's something, yeah, that's something that like I've seen Dell make those like little itty bitty towers that are like purpose built. Like you've got we were talking about like office like doctors' offices with iMacs. It's
Mm-hmm.
that same use case of like the display and then the computer small enough to fit on the back of it. Um, but yeah, that's going to be a little bit more annoying with the mini because it's thicker.
Yeah. So I think they effed up. I think they either needed to find a way to make this smaller. And yes, I understand that that becomes complicating for ports, though. If you're making it small enough, you could just have the ports literally wrapping around this thing or, put them in different configurations. It needed to not get thicker or something. I
I
think
mean, if
what they did here
it,
is the right idea that was done wrong.
yeah, I mean, if they're making it thinner, they just make the Thunderbolt ports go the other way, just like iPad,
Sure.
iPhone. So that
Oh,
maybe at some
I didn't
point,
necessarily mean for it to get that thin, but
right? Yeah,
but yeah. Um
but yeah,
I think they either needed to turn this into uh maybe you could have made it into a cube that has got a much smaller footprint on the desk but sits a bit taller,
the
or they needed to
return
keep
of
it.
the G4 Cube.
Yes.
Make it happen, Apple. Hopefully
Or
better.
they needed to make it, or needed to keep it thinner and like a wider footprint if that was necessary, and that way at least it would have been a little bit better for mounting on the back of a display or something like that. um I think this is, again, right idea, wrong implementation. So yeah, that's it. And honestly, I like the idea of having something that is basically like a dongle. That obviously that's maybe a little ambitious, but to be fair, we also know that they're putting basically the same hardware into iPads, so I don't see why that's actually not realistic. Um so yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
this
and Diablo brought up like a Mac dongle. Yeah, I that's what I was like half joking about earlier. Like, there's still potential for a Mac Nano,
yeah,
where like, yeah, make it Chromecast size. Do it.
the one thing that where or the one place, the one setting where I sort of saw this working, and you actually kind of you accidentally stepped on this topic right at the start of this. Um, what I think they should have done, or another thing they could have done, is make it match the footprint of the Apple TV precisely. I mean, to the millimeter, perfectly match it, because then you could have basically that classic home theater setup where you have two devices stacked on top of each other that look the same, that function the same, or not function the same, but they serve contributing purposes. And then this way you have an Apple TV which you control with your remote, and it does all the Apple TV stuff, and directly below it is your Mac Mini that is the Plex server, that's the it does all of your other home server whatever purposes, and they would look perfect stacked exactly like that. But they made the dimensions wrong, so they can't do that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, again, this goes back to the like everything they could do with the mini, but they won't because they're Apple. You know what else would be cool is the original Mac Mini had this. A lot of the Mac computers from this era had a thing called Front Row,
Mm-hmm.
where it came with a remote, and when you press the button on the remote, it would switch to like a TV interface, so you could play like the movies and music that was on the computer, but like on a panel. And like I that was the thing that we used with those Macs at my home, and that would be good. Like a modern version of that would be like a remote that you can get for the mini or comes with it. It won't come with it. And you press a button on the remote and it switches to an Apple TV.
Yeah, it was a lot like Windows Media Center, that
Yeah.
or variations of that. Which, by the way, this is also precisely or very similar to exactly what I've suggested that they need to do with the Chromecast years ago. You know, come out with the Chromecast that is just the TV stuff, but then you buy a remote and it behaves like Android TV. Um, and
Because it's
yeah,
already got an HDMI port.
yeah, it has everything you need to have it basically remove the Apple TV from the equation, and
It
that
is like
is the better
it would
solution.
be it'd be like the most overpowered TV box ever. Because there's still no games, but you know,
Yes,
it's gonna run Netflix so well, and it doesn't have to stay in the TV cabinet because it's little. You can pick it up and
right.
put it on your desk.
So yeah,
Yeah, a lot of things they could do, but they won't.
yeah, like I
Also needs
said,
RGB.
definite hot take territory with this one, but I do think that they screwed up. They and in the sense of like missed opportunities. They could have done this so much better, but they didn't. So, yeah. Um okay. Now that I've basically said the Mac Mini sucks in all the possible ways. Kidding.
Right. It
Um
sucks, but also it's the best computer at this price.
yes. But shall we move on to the MacBook Pros?
Apple's best computer is the one that they only update once every 15 years.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do MacBooks. So yeah, Apple finally revealed new MacBook Pros with the M4 chips. These are their first computers with the M4 Pro and M4 Max. Well,
Well, the M4
uh,
Pro was also in the Mac Mini, but the
yes,
Max,
yeah,
yes, this is the first of the M4 Max.
yeah. So pretty much same design as far as I know. I know the screen has the whatever
The
the
nano texture display is an
yeah,
option,
yeah,
yes.
that's an option on the screen. It has also the new 12 megapixel center stage camera. I think that's the same one in the iMac.
Hmm.
I'm sure it's still not that good.
They never will be.
So yeah, but it also has Thunderbolt 5 if you get the Pro or Max
Hmm.
options. So that's a lot of hub potential. And I think also the colors are new, right? It's both it comes in both black and the silver.
Um, well, it's space black or silver. Yeah, because it used to be what, gray and space gray or something.
I
They
don't
had
remember.
space black for a while, didn't they?
I
Or maybe that
I couldn't
was
tell you.
maybe that was only on other things. I
I'm too
honestly,
I'm too poor to look at the configure page for the MacBook Pro.
jeez. So yeah, they might have changed up the colors a little bit, but also they didn't. Look, they're not even changing the color. They're literally just changing the luminosity of the color. Like how much light does it reflect? It's still neutral. So yeah, I'm not gonna count this as really
And
new
once
colors.
again, they will not make it in a fun color
No.
because they're a bunch of cowards. Make the MacBook Pro in those iMac colors, Apple. I dare you. I double dog dare you to make the red and orange MacBook Pro. Don't make me buy a D brand skin. I hate giving that company money. I don't want to do it.
Okay, I'm willing to just live with the uninspired colors. Uh, that's it. I'm just willing to live with uninspired colors. It's fine. You don't need to give D brand money ever. That being said, I will honestly, I do prefer the darker, but I don't want to go to full black for the color. So I feel like space gray was
Yeah,
actually that nice place to be. I really like it on my current MacBook Pro.
because
So
if I was to make up an excuse for Apple's cowardice, I will say I get why the computer you put your hands on all the time is not in the fun bright colors. I can
Yeah.
I can understand that logic a little bit. Your banana MacBook Pro is going to be a dirty banana after a while. So
Wow, HR. God.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Look,
anyway,
you said it, not me. So yeah, the
I didn't
new
say it, you said it, but okay.
you made
Um
it weird.
oh yes, I'm the one who made it weird. Um so yeah, anyway, they're definitely like big powerhouse updates. But for the most part, like they didn't change massive amounts on this.
No,
It's
it's just new
basically
chips.
upgraded chip, upgraded to Thunderbolt 5 if you're getting higher end chips, and you have the option on the nano texture uh, glass.
And base 16 gigs
Oh,
memory,
yes, yes.
which is again should have that was ridiculous that it wasn't. So I'm not going to give them like pass on that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Um, let's see. And just for giggles, because these are hands down the most expensive computers they announced, um, just just for fun, maxing out the build because of course we have to, and you can get to a whopping $7,349 or or 612.41 per month for a year.
That's a deal.
Or and that's on the 16 inch. Um, or if you're going as cheap as you can go, the 14 inch with a base M4 starts at 1600. Well, 1599 as it were. So they're pricey boys, but to be fair, MacBook Pros have never been cheap. So
Yeah, and like the Air doesn't have M4 yet, but it's still like a very good deal. Honestly, if I was to buy a Pro, I would probably look for like one of the discounted M2 and M3 ones with 16 gigs RAM and more storage because I think for most people the performance upgrade is not going to be like as massive as maybe the other factors. But if you need all the power and you need maybe Thunderbolt 5, then there you go. That's an option now.
yeah. So I feel like we hit pretty much everything else in discussing the previous models. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward. Like the MacBook Pros don't really change much of the story, um, which kind of a shame. I It's weird that some of the better selling computers will are almost not worth discussing now, but um, yeah, and I agree. I think most people are just as well served going with an older model if you can find one used. You're certainly going to get it a lot cheaper. But I guess if you're really digging into the AI processing side of it, then you would want to pick up an M4. I have this weird feeling, and maybe I'm weird for this. I feel like I would rather wait on an M5. I feel like the M4 is their first round of doing like really focused AI processing, and probably an M5 is where it's actually going to like shift those numbers. Balls in your court, Qualcomm. Um, wow. Good luck. Good luck to Qualcomm. That's all I can say. Um, because who knows? They might not be doing ARM long enough to be competitive in that space. We might be looking at some RISC-V times. Risky times.
Yep.
I already feel bad about saying that.
Oh boy.
um, I don't know. Is there even much more to say about the MacBook Pros?
No, I don't because I've not used a MacBook Pro since the one my mom had like 10 years ago.
Okay then.
Um, So I don't have many MacBook Pro thoughts. Seems good. I I'm still, again, my M1 Air is still a very good laptop. I do wish it had MagSafe and more RAM and a webcam that doesn't suck, but that's okay.
Yes. One thing, actually, you know what? I am going to make one comment about the MacBook Pros, and I'm not surprised by this. Oh, actually, you know what? There is one other. Okay, there's one thing that they did change, and it's more of a rating, but the battery life. They say that the upper MacBook Pros can now reach up to 24 hours of battery life. That's pretty solid. Now, I don't know what it actually is in reality. When it comes to real usage, that number could go obviously all over the place. But 24 hours on a single battery, assuming I'm assuming moderate or minimal usage, that is good. I mean, if in theory you're only using it for like 8 hours a day, which is still a pretty hefty day, that's 3 days of battery life. Um,
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
and you're not getting anywhere near that with the pro level Windows laptops.
No.
And again, other important thing to keep in mind is when you hear long battery times and you're like, wow, I don't care. I plug in my laptop every night or whatever. Guess what? That means you're still going to have a lot of capacity in 3 years when your
Mm-hmm.
battery is worn down. So that's still really good. You want that.
Yeah. Okay, so the other thing I was about to talk about first, before sidestepping to the battery thing, 7 ports. So the MacBook Pro, the current MacBook Pro, is identical in the port configuration to my M1 Max MacBook Pro. Um, it is 3 USB-C ports, which can either be Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5. Great, fine. There's an HDMI port, a SD reader which supports up to SDXC, a headphone jack, and MagSafe. Apple, 4 USB ports. F this stuff with 3. Go back to 4. Have a mirror image of on the laptops. I'm telling you right now. One side should be the MagSafe port. The opposite side should be the HDMI port, and then next to those on both sides should be a mirror image, those USB-C ports. 4 ports, no less. This stuff with 3 sucks. Every person I have ever talked to who has one of these is furious because they constantly are feeling around trying to find where they can plug in. It's not visible unless you crane your head to look at it. You just don't see where they're at. It is not a good configuration the way it is. It's even like I've had this computer for years now. I know where the ports are, like, or which side has the 2 ports, which side has the one. I still have to think about it. There is cognitive load that I should not have to have when just plugging in a damn USB port. So bring back 4 ports. You can do it. I have faith in you. Do it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my Air only has the ports on one side. So that's my
Skill
my
issue.
my annoyance. Yeah. Still better than the laptop I sold after only having for like 4 months, which was my Surface Laptop 4, I think, which had the stupid proprietary Surface connector, and one USB-C port. One. I had to buy a hub to plug in 2 things. Um, so yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, hub life on a Pro does not make sense.
Yeah,
I
I
get it
have.
on an Air. It's when you're talking about something like a MacBook Air or the classic MacBooks. Yeah, obviously hubs kind of were necessities. it should not be as much of a necessity on a Pro. I do not like that. I think they need to fix that. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I guess
I've said my piece there.
maybe. Yeah, maybe it's just a bandwidth thing because the Mac Mini also has three, right?
Well,
Or is it
unless you count the
four?
two in front.
Yeah, so one of them could on the. Well, I don't know if that's better if there's a fourth or fifth port on the Pro, but two of them are worse.
Um, well, when you consider the potential bandwidth, it should actually basically be the same. Or is that right? Oh, I don't know.
Maybe,
Actually, maybe it's not. I'd have to
maybe
check.
it depends on what level of USB
Yeah.
that one is that Apple's not
So yeah,
specific about.
I
Because
guess I don't know for sure if they could do Thunderbolt 5 if they have enough bandwidth to support that, but I'm going to say that they could. Somewhere, somehow, they could do it, even if they're choosing not to.
yeah,
Okay.
and also they need FireWire.
Actually, okay, all right. If we're gonna throw in something like that, I'm actually gonna take one extra stab, guys. SD readers are fine, but if you're gonna have one there, please go for, I forget what the standard is called, but please go for the thing that is the next step up from SDXC. It's technically very slightly differently sized, but it actually fits the ports perfect, or it fits the cards perfectly. You can still use SD cards. It is the next standard that is clearly going to be the standard. Just please switch to that because there more cameras support that standard now. Please just switch to that because oh my god, so many people will be in love with having the much better standard supported. Like that is the thing that pros using cameras are going to want.
Yeah.
Okay. So our final subjects. Final subjects. The accessories.
Yes.
They did it. Apple has done the impossible. They've done the amazing. They have transcended all expectations. And they finally changed the port in their accessories. They did something that the world thought impossible. Changing a port.
Yep. Yeah. So they finally fixed the Mac accessories being Lightning, which was always dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're USB-C. Except there's not a USB-C version, I believe, of the normal Mac keyboard yet. Like the one without the number pad.
Yeah, there is.
Is there?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was looking at them in the store even.
okay.
They're definitely there.
That's good.
I
So
will
yeah,
pull them
they've
up
got
right
the
now.
Magic Keyboard. They've got the Magic Trackpad with USB-C and the Magic Mouse. I will say the prices on all these are still insane.
Yes.
Like I'm sorry, you want 200. I know the Apple keyboards are good, and like I might get the USB-C one at some point. I don't know, but like 200 is a lot for the numeric pad one. Um, and also the I'm sorry, $150 for a trackpad. I
Mm-hmm.
know they're good trackpads. I might get that at some point, but like, oh my goodness, that is a lot. Especially like my issue with the Apple accessories and why I've now gone back to I stopped waiting for Apple to do this. I just went back to my MX Keys Mini, which like some of the labels are peeling off. Um, is like Apple accessories still like don't really work with things that are not Apple, and that's very irritating.
Okay, so I pasted the link in chat because it is kind of weird to find this, um, but it is there. If you
Okay, yeah.
Yep. If you look, you can find all three models of keyboards. There's the regular one for $99. There is the for $149 you can get the it is the regular one, but it has Touch ID for the models that support it. And then they have the 10 key model, which is $179. Or numeric keypad. I guess I mean, obviously even numeric keypads were always more than 10 key, but this also has like the expanded arrow keys, the keys above the arrow keys, blah blah blah. So yeah,
Yeah,
all
and
three are here.
I will say one thing that Apple does do, I'll give them credit for on these keyboards, and it looks like according to the description they still do this, is that if you plug it in, it's a wireless keyboard, right? So it's Bluetooth, but if
Yeah.
you plug it in, it acts as a wired keyboard. This is
Yes.
something that shockingly no one else does. Like if you buy any keyboard from like my Logitech keyboard, it has a USB-C port that can only be used for charging. I can't plug this into a computer and make it a keyboard. And like basically no other wireless keyboards do this. I guess it's just too complicated, but it's very irritating. So that's good. I like that they do that. Um,
Agreed.
so when Bluetooth is too annoying, it can just be a normal keyboard. I don't know, but of course you can't do that with mouse because the charging port is still in the bottom. Um, so that's fun.
Um
I don't know where it is on the trackpad,
what
the port.
Oh, it's center back.
Okay.
Um or rear, whatever. Uh let's see. I mean, you can see this, anyone who's watching. I'll have to switch
Mm-hmm.
to here we go. So yeah, that's the rear. You can see the port dead center. There's nothing too special. Um so
Diablo asked, does the touchpad also function wired?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because
I
the description is the same, but they're being a little bit not correct about it. On the keyboard and the trackpad, they both say it features a USB-C port and includes a woven USB-C charge cable that lets you pair and charge by connecting a single USB port on your Mac. But I think
yeah.
they might
Um
just be using pair wrong.
Well, okay. So for those who've never used one of these, quick piece of information, pairing has to be done over wire. You cannot there's no way to pair these without connecting a wire to the computer. So that's dumb and sucks. Just so everyone knows. Um that being said, uh at least I guess technically they could have changed how this works with USB-C, but I doubt they would have. But certainly the Lightning model I have, when I plug it in, it is definitely connecting wired as opposed to wireless. So I'm pretty sure they kept it the same way.
Okay.
Let's see. A few things that I think are kind of notable just across the board. The keyboards, all but the numeric keypad version, are only available in white. The numeric keypad version is available in white and black, as are the Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad. If anyone was watching while I was doing this, you saw me click into each of these and check them. The black versions across the board are all $20 extra because apparently black is expensive. I suppose paint prices have gone up.
Inflation.
Yes. And I feel like it's also notable that the keyboard, when they say black, what they actually mean is black keycaps on a silver body. So if that particular aesthetic is not what you were going for when you thought, oh, I'll order the black keyboard, yeah, now you know. Otherwise, the trackpad and Magic Mouse are both like just fully in black. Um, let's see. Also, well, let's see. Was there anything else to say about any of these? One thing I I haven't looked into. I don't remember if this is the case, but I think the Touch ID only works with very specific Mac models on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's the M. I think it's the Max with like the T1 or T2 chip or whatever it's called.
yeah, and I think that's not even. I don't know that this even works with like if you got a brand new MacBook Pro. It might only have been the iMacs that this works with, but I don't
They
know.
There is a compatibility chart,
Oh
but it's
yeah,
not clear if they're talking about because I clicked the
true.
one for the black keys numeric keypad USB-C, and it just says Mac with Apple Silicon using macOS 11.4 or later.
Okay. Um. So yeah, this is something I all I know is at one point in history, people were looking into this and they were pretty outraged because Touch ID was, or they sold keyboards with Touch ID, but the Touch ID only worked with at the time the iMacs that had come
Right.
out. It did not work with any of the other computers where logically it should have. Um, Maybe that has
Yeah.
changed. So
Yeah.
I just don't know. Um, and I think it's the thing we obviously have to talk about, the Magic Mouse. They
I'm still dumb.
they they this is Apple. This is Apple. They couldn't figure out the thing that people have been memeing on the entire life. That the Magic Mouse has existed. What it came out 8 years ago.
I
This
think it's
version.
older than that.
It might
Oh,
be about
this
10.
version.
I don't know, but
I
it's old.
First one was 2009. Second gen was 2015,
Okay,
according
I
to
think the
Wikipedia.
second gen is when this became the problem, though. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't. Regardless, this has been one of the things people have mocked Apple
yeah,
for.
yeah. Because the first gen had AA batteries, so it didn't
Okay,
have a charger.
yeah. So yeah, second gen Magic Mouse. You said 2015.
Yes.
Yeah. So 9 years. 9 years. People have been making fun of Apple for this specific product uh, anti-design. Somehow they have had this exact problem for that long, and nobody was like, you know what? Maybe we should finally fix this. Johnny Ive has apparently infected someone's brain so deeply that they're like, no, we can never have a cable coming off of our mouse. It would look so disgusting. And so here they are with a mouse that people still will continue to meme for, I'm gonna guess, another near decade. 9 more years of this
Yeah, and
stupidity.
I saw some um sorry, my brain stopped. I saw some coping on my Mastodon. Some people were like, "Oh, this doesn't really matter. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You know, you only charge the mouse every, however, a month, every month or whatever for a little bit. It's fine." I think I saw, like, of course, John Gruber, the dipshit that he is always, was making that take, and it's like that. Yeah, like ideally you're not charging the mouse very often, but like it should. This is still a very easy thing to do. And again, if it was the port on the front, it could be like the keyboard and the trackpad, where it is usable as a wired mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, like just put on the side. There's no reason it's like this. They're just, you don't have to excuse this one, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't really honestly, you should never have the same opinion as Gruber. Never. If you're doing that, you need to look at yourself.
Yes.
It is so weird that he made Markdown.
Oh, come on. He did it by accident. And honestly, also, if you look at some of the history, saying that he made Markdown is a kind of like saying, okay, I was actually I was about to say something that people get mad about. But it's one of those things. It's sort of like, okay, actually I've got one that's equally evil but a little less offensive. It's sort of like saying that Elon Musk made Tesla. No. No. Gruber made Markdown about as much as Elon Musk made Tesla. His name is on it. He's claiming it. But other people were really the people who came up with it. He just happened to sort of get to claim it as his own.
Yeah. But yes, it's just the port should be normal. Again, this isn't hard. That's dumb design.
Yes. And look, anyone who does want to argue, you only charge the mouse once in a while. Well, you're right. But what about that time that you come back and it's like, oh no, I forgot to charge my mouse last time. I need to use it right now.
Or
cool. You have no mouse until you've charged
Or again, you just want to use it wired. You took your mouse to another person's computer and like, I don't want to deal with Bluetooth pairing. Or you live in my apartment, which is apparently like a chamber of Bluetooth connectivity woes, where it's just like the 2.4 gigahertz band here is saturated to the brim. I get disconnects sometimes. Sometimes you just want to use a wired thing. It should just
the dungeon of Bluetooth destruction.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like, I can't get a cell signal in here. There's like, when I open the Wi-Fi menu, there's like 20 networks. I'm like, oh, that's why my mouse disconnects sometimes.
Yeah, for real. Look, there are times that I'll be sitting here. My Mac is very close to me. But because of the ways that I can sometimes have things lined up, my keyboard can actually be interfered with by my trackpad.
Yeah.
It's rare, but it does happen. And I don't have a ton of wireless stuff going on in here. It's certainly plenty, but it does happen in rare instances. And the more stuff I have on Bluetooth, the more likely that is to happen. And when I've got stuff that's sitting on my desk that, at least in that particular point in time, is not leaving my desk, I'm okay having it wired. So why shouldn't that be an option?
I have this keyboard and my Logitech Lift mouse on the same Logitech dongle, which is Bluetooth, but it's like it's Bluetooth, but it's like a USB adapter, so I can put it on my USB switch, and it's just easier to deal with. And because it's Bluetooth, it's on my desk. The adapter is on a hub on my switch that is like near the floor, so desk is in the way. And sometimes if I sit a certain way, like if I'm like crossing my legs and the signal needs to go through my legs, the keyboard cuts out sometimes. So again, like there's just many scenarios where you want wire. And again, like also maybe you want to use your $100 computer mouse, sometimes with a computer that doesn't have Bluetooth, because there's still a lot of those. So like, come on, guys. You don't have to defend Apple in this one. It's okay.
Yeah. Look, this, and the mere notion that anyone feels like they need to defend Apple, the $3 trillion company, first off, look at your life. Second,
don't be like, second off, don't be Gruber.
Yeah. Second, just don't be Gruber, because but third, just consider take away your inclination to defend Apple for a second and just consider two questions. One, could Apple have designed it differently? And two, could they have designed it better that would have made everyone happy? And
Right. The
like,
RGB Mac Mini.
yes. Because you might not need to defend Apple if Apple had just sat down and designed something better. And so far, I've yet to hear anyone provide. That's the thing. You can defend Apple by saying, "Oh, you don't need to charge the mouse that often." Well, okay, that may be true, but what's the harm? What's the harm? If anything, and what's the benefit? What is the benefit to having the charging port on the bottom besides making it look a little prettier, not having a cable hanging off of it? I don't know of any benefit. I have literally never heard of it. I can actually point to another drawback. You're now turning a mouse over, so the top of it is going to sit on a surface that may not be completely clean, that may scratch the top of it. You are actually, if anything, possibly harming the aesthetics of your perfectly pristine mouse just by charging it. These do not seem like wins. I can't find a win in this current design, but I can find plenty of drawbacks. Maybe you don't need to defend Apple if Apple just sat there and said, "Okay, yeah, no, everyone's right. Let's just be done with this." The honestly, and I made this joke, and I don't believe that this is the case, but I made the joke, and I think it's worth repeating here. I kind of wonder if Apple has like a deal going with Razer and Logitech. Like straight up, they're paying Apple, like we're going to make more money from them paying us than we would selling our own mouse.
The mouse market collusion.
Yes.
Stop the count. Stop the magic mouse count.
Look, that is I do not deny for a second that is the dumbest conspiracy theory conceivable. It is so colossally dumb, and I don't actually believe it for a second. But at the same time, it makes more sense than Apple couldn't redesign their damn mouse.
No, I think this is just a Mac Mini situation where they're like, all right, we're gonna try a little bit, but not that hard.
Yeah.
It's probably just same reason the Mac Mini had a lot of internal upgrades over that 15-year span, but the design didn't change once.
Yeah. To be fair, there wasn't really much reason to change the design, though. At least no one was sitting there going, "Oh my God, the Mac Mini, it's so gigantic, I can't deal with it." Or, "Wow, we need more space for ports. We don't know what port they're going to put in to use that space, but we need more space." Or, like, no one was sitting there really complaining about the Mac Mini physical design, except for, it looks like it did 10 years ago. Like, that's the worst complaint anyone really had about it. The mouse, though, it literally came out. It was announced, and everyone's like, "Wait, the charging port's on the bottom? That's dumb." And that's the thing that people have been saying for 9 years. I don't believe for a second Apple couldn't have looked at this and said, "Okay, let's deal with this problem now."
Also, Diablo brought up the point, you can't get it in fun colors outside of the iMac. Also true of the trackpad. Again, Apple's a bunch of cowards. They won't do it.
Yeah. And the fact that you can order an iMac and get the fun colors, you can, right?
Say what?
You can order an iMac and get the matching color mice and keyboard, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the one and only way that you can get a interesting color in these things. That's not ideal. It's really not. Though I'm assuming that eventually one of these days there will be ways to order quote unquote replacements that will solve that, but I don't know.
Yeah, because Apple's been weird about this before. When they made the first Mac Pro, the iMac Pro, that had the black keyboard and mouse, that was never available. I don't
Right. So I turned up Corbin's volume as much as I could. Hopefully,
I'm sorry. I'm putting pizza in the oven.
he couldn't wait the next couple of minutes because we're
Oh.
we're literally on the
Well,
last topic.
it okay. It usually takes a while for my oven to warm up, so I don't know when the end time is for that. So
Corbin, I feel comfortable saying the end times are near. Um, I think this may
that's
be the
true.
first time I've ever said that sentence where it's where it's entirely an okay thing to say, but also it feels really uncomfortable to comfortably say those words a week away from our election.
Right.
But here we are. That's the world we live in. Um yeah, so I know that this is we kind of have just gone through all the Apple stuff and basically collectively said, no, we're not buying any of this stuff or upgrading to any of this stuff. But the accessories, I feel like that might be the exception. Where are you, sir? Are you planning on purchasing any of these accessories for yourself? I know you're getting the mouse.
No. Um, I mean, like I might get the keyboard and trackpad at some point. Again, my issue still goes back to Apple doesn't really like to make their stuff work all that well on non-Apple stuff, and my desk is set up with my Mac Mini and my gaming PC, and like my current keyboard and mouse and everything work equally well on both of those. So if I buy this, that probably won't be true. So that would stop me from buying it. But I don't know. I'd think about it.
So, my stance on it is first, I have a Magic Trackpad that is less than a year old because the last one, the power switch on it broke, which is dumb. And tried, I tried contacting Apple and all but begging them, like, please just let me send it in and have it fixed. There's no reason to buy a new one. The current one is great, but no, there was no option, and I couldn't figure out a way to wiggle the switch into the on position. So yeah, I was effectively dead. Um, so I do have a Lightning model. All things considered, I figure I can just live with that for a while. These are still somewhat fragile trackpads in the sense that drop them and you'll spiderweb the glass top on it. So I figure one of these days something bad will probably happen and I'll need to replace it. In the meantime, I'll just use this one up and probably stick with it. That is, unless there turns out, I might look in a couple of weeks or whatever and see what the resale value on like eBay or wherever. If I can find someone who's willing to buy a Lightning model for like $100, I'd be willing to spend the extra 30 to get a USB-C model. So the trackpad, if it's not going to cost me a lot in the long run, I would upgrade. Otherwise, yeah, I'll use this one to death and then eventually get a USB-C model. The keyboard is a bit of a different story. I have a first generation Magic keyboard or technically wireless or Apple wireless keyboard. This is the one that is shaped like this, where it has a battery compartment for AA batteries. I stick rechargeables in here, and these rechargeables I've had for over a decade, so they themselves have very little usable life to them. Um, and they have a tendency of dying somewhat randomly. Let's see. According to this one, by the way, not joking, I put fairly recently recharged batteries in this last night. No joke. Last night. My Bluetooth panel says that they're at 32%.
Oh no.
Now that probably means that they discharged more than I realized since they were charged. When I say recently charged, it was still probably a few weeks ago, but yeah, they're not super long for this world, and I do have several pairs of rechargeable batteries that I've been cycling through. Some last longer than others, but point is, I'm
Yeah. Can I just say I'm gonna be I love the rechargeable double A's and triple A's.
oh no, yeah, I'm
I
with you on that.
use them like they go in my Xbox controller, they go in my Wii, accessories, other random things I have that take batteries. It's so great. I bought a like the only reason I bought a pack of like normal batteries is because my Quest 2 was having battery issues and I thought that it was related to that, but that might have just been that headset. Um like they're so great. I feel like that's one of those things that like people don't think about enough, but it's sort of in the same category as like when I see people buy like tons of bottled water all the time, and just
Mm-hmm.
like drink that instead of like a reusable cup or like a Brita filter or something. I'm just like, you don't have to live like this. You can. Although it's not always a perfect situation because the rechargeables do have a lower capacity. I get that, but
For what it's worth, if there are situations where water filters are not sufficient,
right.
especially if you know how shockingly ineffective Brita filters actually are.
If you live
But
in Flint, Michigan,
yeah, that too. Um, but no,
yeah,
if you ever want to kind of freak yourself out, look into how ineffective Brita filters can be. Um, that's a thing. But yeah, I for other reasons I go with bottled water. Um, but
I will. Yeah, I will say I will probably look into the Brita filter thing though, because I was thinking about that. Because one thing that I did buy recently, I'm not going to get it, but I bought a giant water jug, like it's massive,
mhm.
and I call it the big jug. And its purpose is like when I do long car trips, there are a lot of rest stops that have water
Yes,
fountains, but some that don't. And I don't know until I get there if there's like a working one. So Big Jug ensures I have water the entire time and I can refill when available. But it doesn't have any filter. And I'm going to be honest, the water fountains on highway rest
yeah,
stops seem like one of the easiest ways to expose yourself to waterborne viruses.
yeah.
But
Carson, I'm not saying Brita filters don't work. They definitely do. But there are certain things that tend to get through them a little more
right.
easily. It's
They're
a
they're
type
they're
of
like
filtration that doesn't get certain types of chemicals. It doesn't necessarily capture the highest. Certain things tend to slip through, or you may have to filter water several times to get certain things to a low enough level. Um, and it obviously depends on the kind of water you're putting in. If you have really good water going in, I love that it's
this
got
is
a Gatorade logo
this
on it.
yeah, this is like a Gatorade something, but yeah, this is Big Jug.
Big jug.
Like the I mean, just like the cap is really funny. It's like a
Oh,
giant
jeez.
sippy cup.
Oh
It's
no, is
great.
that plastic?
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's yeah, like that's the top, and then but the cap is like that. Also, because it's so huge, it is very easy to hand clean.
well, that is true.
I
Corbin's
can
getting all
stick
of his
my
microplastics.
entire arm in there. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm getting the microplastics from the water fountains there for sure,
Yeah, that's fair.
and E. coli.
Um, yeah, Carson, I'm gonna say go ahead and probably just keep rocking the Brita. Um, but yeah, if anyone wants to kind of freak themselves out, look into it, and there are other kinds of filters that are more effective. Um, they just don't necessarily come in the neat little, perfect product style that Brita does. Um,
Yeah, I might still
anyways,
get like a big Brita bottle, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing for sure.
Better than
Like,
better than raw dogging the highway water
well, yeah,
fountain.
that's for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely
anyway,
some kids sticking their whole mouth on that before I got there.
yes, it's the mouth you should worry. It,
Yeah,
okay, not going to go any further on that one. Um,
right.
but yeah, anyway, Carson, yes, that is also true. Brita, it's not like they aren't filtering. It's just, yeah, they do care about speed because that's part of their pitch. Um, anyway, yes, so I am not going to do it right away, but I definitely do want to replace my keyboard because not only that, I figured this one has like the older Bluetooth technology that Apple was used to push, which is fine. It works just fine, but it's, doesn't have their crazy high quality Bluetooth chip that they invented a few years back. It doesn't have um, some of the negotiation, like wireless negotiation capabilities, stuff like that. I don't like the power button being a button that you push and it triggers it on and you have to long press to turn it off. Like, I want the switch that you can just switch on and off, that I believe is what the other keyboards have. So yeah, there are reasons why I would like to upgrade the keyboard. The My biggest caveat is I really don't like the arrow keys. They have
Mm,
the dumb arrow
the
keys.
little, yeah,
I want the inverted T. I do not want the double sized left and right keys. And I
yeah.
know,
That's a little. Yeah, that's something the Logitech does correctly. They're normal.
yeah. And I'd be maybe tempted to look into getting the Logitech one for that reason. Um, or finding a different one or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that is the smallest of complaints, but it is a complaint. Also, the counterpoint is, and man, I don't like the idea that I'd be spending an extra $50 just for this, but if the Touch ID does work, then I would be very tempted to get the $150 version with the Touch ID at the top. Because do I use it a lot? No, but I definitely use it enough that would be really nice to have on the keyboard too. Um, 9 times out of 10, I can just reach over and hit the Touch ID and then use my wireless keyboard normally. But in the instances that's not convenient, it would be nice having it actually on the keyboard.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep going back and forth because my pizza's not quite done. Um, I will say also on the Touch ID thing, one thing I forgot to mention on the MacBook is Apple still doesn't have Face ID on their Macs,
Yes.
which does feel like maybe it should be there.
Seeing as they
Um,
upgraded the cameras and
yeah.
every apologist insisted, hello to new subscriber, or whatever that was.
Oh,
Sorry, there was a chime, but I can't see what it was.
it was
Um,
me. I made that sound.
anyway, so what was? Oh, yeah, they upgraded the cameras, which every apologist insisted was the reason why they didn't have Face ID on the Macs or on MacBook Pros. Well, all Macs. And here we are. They've upgraded the cameras, but did not
Yeah.
add Face ID, which tells me probably a different reason.
Yeah. And that seems like I think I'd get more use out of Face ID on a Mac than I would on my phone. I'm not a big fan of it on my phone, partially because like I still mask up about maybe half the time I go out. Like if I'm just going somewhere that's not like eating or something else, or I'm going to take it off anyway. And it still like makes me do my passcode most of the time. It's supposed to support masks, but not it doesn't really.
Yeah. Um, let's see. So, just looking at my email because that's the only way I have to see this reliably. But hello to MZ, new channel subscriber. Um, so, uh, which the timing is kind of coincidental because we're just about to wrap up, but, um, yeah.
Yes, because my
So,
pizza's done.
all things considered, I'd like to I'd like to pick up new accessories, but I don't see myself grabbing them right away. I'm gonna wait a little bit before touching the keyboard, and a much longer time before getting a trackpad. And I will not be getting a magic mouse. If I'm getting a mouse, I'm gonna get a proper like gamer mouse. I want I want extra buttons.
I
The
like my Logitech Lift. It's pretty nice.
yeah
This is their
the nice
I,
ergonomic
yeah,
design.
I think this is the new. I don't think they make like the MX, because I before this I had the MX Master. It wasn't the Master. It was the MX Vertical. It was called.
Mm,
I think this is just the new one. It's just called Logitech Lift.
yeah.
Um, but it's fine. It's got like some buttons and stuff, so pretty good.
Yeah. And I certainly would be more inclined to something like that for sort of regular use, but for gaming use, yeah. Different mice for different purposes kind of situation. Though it honestly for like regular like working use, trackpad I think is better. But I think that about wraps it up unless there's anything else you wanted to say aside from you're going to rush to go eat your pizza.
No, I'm gonna rush to eat my pizza.
Um, okay. So with that, I believe it is wrap up time. So, of course, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, being in the chat with us. Um, I am, of course, going to be back this weekend for some gaming on Saturday and Sunday. And next week on Wednesday, we should have another ramble. Hopefully, Corbin will be back on that one as well. Corbin, of course, huge thanks for coming by and being on the stream with me. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Huge thanks go out to Carson, Austin, David, Diablo, and Curvy Mermaid for being supporters of the channel. Y'all are awesome. I think that about covers it all. So, hope you have an excellent rest of your week. Good luck, and please, yes, Carson, you said it exactly. Please go vote. Go. You all know what to do. If you haven't voted already, go vote. I'm not going to speak for Corbin, but I'm going on record. I'm endorsing Harris.
Yeah,
Wild choice, but I'm going to endorse. Harris.
We're gonna do it to the Washington Post wall.
we're gonna
endorse. We endorse two things here. We endorse Harris, and we endorse hating on Gruber. These are our two political stances.
You know what? I'm also going to endorse mocking Elon Musk to the point of tears.
Okay. And mocking the Magic Mouse. So we have four positions.
Yeah, a lot of positions here. Like the Kama Sutra's got nothing on us.
We're gonna need one of those like voter guides, for sure.
Yes. Look, normally I don't endorse bullying, but Musk, bully away. That's all I'm saying. All right, so.
Or just say the word cis on Twitter. Both will have the same effect on him.
That is CIS, not SIS.
Right.
Because I have a feeling they probably are all about the SIS. Anyway, so yes, go vote. Be safe, by the way, when you go vote. Not even kidding, because there's some effed up people out there doing some effed up stuff already.
I did my early voting like a week and a half ago. There was like one weird person that I totally just did not engage with.
Yeah.
I'm walking away here. I also didn't wear a mask on purpose. I know there was going to be a lot of people in that line who would maybe give me more shit that I didn't need to deal with.
Yeah.
When I'm just a white guy in my 20s, no clue. They have no clue who I'm voting for. I could go either way.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm Fortunately, I am going to be dropping my ballots off in a drop box. I'm choosing one of the very safest spots that I could go to do that. And it is fortunately a spot where it would be completely impractical for anyone to firebomb the drop box. I probably shouldn't have even said that word because I can only imagine YouTube catching on to that. But that has actually become a problem now in Oregon and Washington. News has come out that people are trying to do that to our drop boxes. So yeah, fortunately, I'm going to be going to a spot where none of these should be concerning.
Yeah, we have mail-in voting here, but it's like really complicated, and there's more things that could potentially go wrong. So it's like I'm going in line. I'm putting my paper in the big machine.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Oregon is figured out how mail-in voting works, and we've been doing it for a long time. To be fair, I'm not trusting our mail system because of DeJoy. So instead, I'm going for a Dropbox because that is about as hard to mess with as it gets in terms of most of the solutions. So yeah, I'm going that route, and yeah. All right. Anyway, go vote. Save our country. And otherwise, have a great week. We'll catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.